There's been a lot of discussions the past year, especially as a result of the recession, about news and documentary photography, and how do you represent blighted cities, and how do you do these depictions, and how do you do it sensitively. And also it's about social media and interactivity and media democracy and media accountability and a whole kind of game change that's taking place right now. What I'd like to do is just have Spencer tell you the story of his Utica shoot and what happened.
But one of my concerns is poverty, real poverty in America. And it's just, there's all sorts of surveys that came out about a couple months ago about the lack of coverage in the media of real poverty. 50 million Americans are living in poverty. The numbers are staggering. So it's been one of, over the last couple of years, when I have time, I want to go to cities and parts of the country that are neglected. In Utica, New York, I don't want to offend anyone that's from Utica. It is a perfectly, pretty place and beautiful, and I'm sure there is, some really intact traditions there. But it's also because you don't hear it. It's one of these cities that just kind of disappeared. It's that's kind of a hipster colony out there. It's never discussed. So I said, what the hell's going on in Utica? And I did a little research. Like, wow, 24% of the people in Utica are living in poverty. And I told my editors, I said, yeah, I'll go. I spent 2 days, and the way I work, I use this camera, and I do minimal. I do basic research, but I don't set up interviews or anything. I'm just roaming and looking, and so yeah, I put out, I did a report. I don't know, 30, 40 images, filed it, and thought that'd be the end of it after 2 days, and then Utica found out about it, and then letters started coming and emails, and they, to make a long story short, they thought I portrayed one angle of Utica, and as I've always stated, that's a good argument, sure. And the counter argument is, well, it's really bad. Like, Utica is just really bad. And what is our responsibility? Are we propagandists for these cities? We go in and try to color it in a more positive way? Or I think what we do is we're objective and we show reality as it really is. For me, this was Utica.
I think that another thing that probably happened for Spencer in this body of work is that we now have the comment sections. And for all of our years coming up as editors and image makers, I think we worked in a little bit of a vacuum. I mean, there was an aspect of, you do this large photo essay and maybe only 10 of your images get seen. But now the accessibility to Spencer's whole body of work, it's just up for grabs. And it becomes this chaotic comment mess because, again, people don't want to see what's really in front of them. So you get the call from the people in the city and they say, come see the pretty part of our city. Well, but that's not what I as a journalist want to look at, and I don't think that's the story. Before, we used to be able to make that decision and kind of feel okay about it, could still feel okay about it, but you have to navigate the comments from the audience.
But do you feel it would be a more thorough story if you had engaged certain parts of?
Ideally, yeah, and ideally you can spend a month up there and you can do a very wide picture. But we can't get past the reality that 24% of people living in this rather small city live in poverty, and that's not lower middle class. That's family 4 under 23,000. That's poor.
We're moving out of an age when journalism took the form of me telling you what's happening in the world. It is now becoming an absolutely collaborative process of how we tell each other what's happening in the world. And I think it's fantastic, and I think it's absolutely wonderful, and that Spencer and the people you work with put out a story, catalyzes a discussion, and every single person in Utica has a means of coming back and telling a different story. I think it's fantastic, it's enriching, and I think it's part of the mindset of having this discussion is that we feel a little bit affronted that people should have this right or this ability, but actually it's fantastic. So what happens to me is it's actually a story of an enriched media environment.